In late November 1970, a group of hikers exploring Norway's remote Isdal Valley, also known as the Ice Valley, made a chilling discovery. Tucked away amongst the rocks, they found the partially burned body of a woman. There was no identification on her, and the labels from her clothing had all been meticulously cut away. Even more strangely, her fingerprints had been sanded off, and dental records led investigators nowhere. Her death would soon become one of Europe's most enduring and fascinating mysteries, and she would become known to the world simply as the Isdal Woman. The scene itself was bizarre and highly deliberate. A controlled fire had been set, not a wild blaze. An autopsy revealed she had a significant number of sleeping pills in her system. Her personal items, like 2 plastic bottles and a rubber boot, were carefully placed around her body, almost as if arranged for a ritual. Investigators were immediately faced with a perplexing question. Was this an elaborate and tragic suicide, or was it a meticulously staged homicide designed to look like one? The more they dug, the deeper the rabbit hole went. As police tried to trace her final movements, a picture emerged of a woman constantly on the go, a ghost moving through Europe. She had traveled through Belgium, France, and Germany before arriving in Norway. At each stop, she used a different alias. Names like Anna Johansson, Genevieve Lancier, and Christine Eriksson were just a few of her many identities. Witnesses who remembered her from various hotels reported that she frequently changed her appearance, altering her hair color and style. She always wore gloves, often sunglasses, and seemed to actively avoid anyone who might recognize her. She paid for everything in cash and never stayed in one place for more than a few days. It was a life lived in the shadows, a life being methodically erased with every step she took. Forensic science, usually the key to solving such cases, provided very little insight. Analysis of her hair suggested she was of Northern or Central European origin. Advanced isotope testing on her teeth narrowed her childhood origins down to Western Europe, possibly near the French-German border, but couldn't pinpoint a specific location. Dental work was unique but matched no records in any European database. DNA tests, both then and now, have yielded no matches in international databases. Every scientific attempt to identify her only reinforced the incredible effort she had put into erasing her own past. It was as if she was determined to be a phantom. Eyewitnesses who encountered her described a woman who was elusive, yet purposeful. She was sophisticated, well-dressed, and spoke multiple languages, though always with an accent no one could quite place. Her hair color shifted from dark brown to fiery red to honey blonde. Her clothing choices were designed to blend in but still conveyed a sense of style and sophistication. Every movement she made appeared deliberate, calculated. She left a trail of subtle traces, hotel registration cards filled out with false information, fragments of cryptic notes, and the burned objects found at the scene, but never enough to form a complete picture, never enough to reveal who she truly was. It was a masterclass in anonymity. As the investigation progressed, the strange details started to look less like a random tragedy and more like something from a spy novel. Retired detectives and intelligence analysts who have studied the case over the years often point to the same conclusion. The use of multiple identities, the constant travel, the cash-only payments, the careful erasure of any identifying marks. These are all classic tradecraft techniques. As one analyst put it, these behaviors are entirely consistent with covert operations. She could have been a spy, a courier carrying sensitive information, or perhaps someone on the run from a very dangerous past. But without any concrete evidence, it all remains pure, tantalizing speculation. Her death, whether self-inflicted or the result of foul play, remains just as ambiguous as her life. The controlled fire, the large quantity of sleeping pills, and the strange arrangement of her possessions all suggest a deliberate act. But was it her own or someone else's? The valley itself, remote, cold and forbidding, became her final resting place, a silent guardian of her secrets. The Isdal Woman simply vanished into history, leaving behind a haunting story of secrecy, enigma, and a cascade of unanswered questions that continue to fascinate and baffle the world over 50 years later. Her journey through Europe revealed a woman who was exceptionally careful, almost pathologically so, about erasing every trace of herself. Hotel staff from Brussels, Paris, and Amsterdam recalled a polite but noticeably distant traveler. She would sometimes request to change rooms shortly after checking in. She avoided small talk at the front desk, and she was always moving onward, never lingering. Each step she took seemed meticulously calculated. Her stays were brief, her payments were always in cash, and she demonstrated a keen awareness of her surroundings, almost as if she was constantly checking for surveillance. Forensic experts who have reviewed the case suggest this level of operational security indicates training or at least significant experience. It strongly points to the possibility that she was involved in some form of intelligence work. The few items that were recovered from the scene have only deepened the mystery. Among them were a partially burned camera, which unfortunately yielded no usable images. There were also fragments of paper with what appeared to be coded notes. Cryptographers and specialists have spent decades attempting to decipher these symbols, but their meaning remains elusive. The fragments hint at some form of communication, perhaps a secret message she was meant to deliver, or even pages from a personal diary, but nothing is definitive. The codes are complex and seem to follow a pattern, but without a key, they are just meaningless scribbles. Another dead end in a case full of them. Eyewitness accounts only reinforce this image of an elusive phantom. She seemed to have an aversion to cameras, turning her face away whenever one was present. Her hair color was a constantly changing variable, and she adapted her clothing and accessories to remain as anonymous as possible in any given city. Investigators at the time seriously considered the theory of intelligence involvement, but no government or agency ever came forward to claim her, and no conclusive evidence ever emerged to link her to a specific organization. Each new clue, instead of clarifying the picture, only added another layer of complexity to the enigma of her identity and her ultimate purpose. And so, we return to the Isdal Valley, to the circumstances of her death which continue to provoke debate and speculation. The controlled nature of the fire, the lethal dose of sleeping pills, and the precise placement of items around her body all point to a deliberate, methodical intent. But did she act alone, a final, desperate act of self-erasure? Or was she silenced by others, her death staged to look like a suicide to conceal a much darker truth? The valley stands as a frozen, silent witness to a life lived in total secrecy, and a death that remains shrouded in impenetrable mystery. The story of the Isdal Woman challenges our very understanding of identity, secrecy, and the traces we leave behind. She moved across an entire continent like a shadow, leaving behind just enough clues to let us know she was there, only to meticulously erase them. She ended her journey in a desolate Norwegian valley that will forever bear witness to her final moments. Her true name, her purpose, and the reasons for her strange, lonely death may never be known. She remains a haunting puzzle, an anonymous face in a 50-year-old photograph, a story that continues to captivate the world. Thank you for watching. If you found this mystery as intriguing as we do, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into the unknown.